Hi, what's up, guys? Welcome to my channel, Master's Creed here. And in this video, I figured let's do a speedrun. Okay, not a speedrun necessarily, but we'll be playing, let's say, rating climb. We're currently 2000 on rapid. Let's find a game. And hopefully I can give a few useful pieces of advice. Now, before we even start, just want to inspect one thing. How long ago was this account made? Okay. Uh, let's do D4. Start with knight C3. Okay, and we have the D4 system. Let's go. And let's get our bishop out. F3. You just go E3. Nothing crazy really is happening right now. And I think we don't need to move our bishop out now. It wouldn't hurt to do that. Let's just play knight E, knight G to E2. Now this move is a bit annoying, but I think I can find a way to stop it. Let's go here. Yeah, I think that stops it for a while. And now we can offer a bishop trade on that side. He doesn't really have a choice, by the way. I think that's the only move. Now, at the same time, we need to keep in mind this bishop here is a bit trapped. Here we can take. Now let's see what he does. Our position isn't bad necessarily, but we've got to do our best to minimize some important weaknesses, and we may have a better position than our opponent. Okay, now I have a feeling taking that bishop is a bad idea. So now, because there's no down any tactics necessarily on the c2 pawn, I think it's safe to bring our knight back to e2. Maybe even castle here. And we might have a really good position. We've got to be patient in this game. I've been doing a lot of blitz recently, so been used to playing fast. That's a mistake. Let's see if he falls for the trap. Well, it's not a mistake, but will he fall for the trap? Let's see. Let's just go queen d2. Now, this would be a blunder because takes, queen takes, we'll have a check at the end of that line. And once the king moves, we win the queen. Now, he's a 2100, so I think he'll probably see that. I don't count on him missing that move, so we got to plan for other alternatives. Let's say he does see that and he takes the pawn instead. Well, the rook on a1 is hanging. We now have to castle. And after castling, maybe slide our rook to e1 and just play patient chess. Now, rook c8, I did not calculate. What is he trying to do? Okay. Castling would now blunder the pawn, so I can't do that yet. Okay. Let's do a3. Just wait for him to show his cards. I hope this Joe Rogan content in the background doesn't get picked up by the copyright thing. That would be annoying. but I usually like to listen to podcasts when playing chess. Now, by the way, mm, I'm realizing we're playing way too fast. It's a 10-minute game, so let me slow down and just process everything. I need to get out of that blitz mindset. He's taking a long time to think about his next move, so that's interesting. But I think it's kind of just obvious. Yeah, there we go. That's the move I was expecting. So let's see what he's calculated. Maybe I've missed something. Now, obviously, we castle. We want to connect the rooks so that the queen cannot capture the one on A1. We would just take back. And now um, things look slightly safe. The queen's about to get trapped if he's not careful. If he plays, for example, bishop captures A3, just slide the other rook to B1, the one on F1, rook FB1, and the queen will be trapped. He'll have to take one of the rooks afterwards. This line's a blunder. So takes, slide the other rook, and the queen cannot escape. He'll probably have to take one rook, and we would carry on in this position. Okay. So you can kind of sense it, I guess. Now, let's just go here. If he insists on staying on this diagonal, we now have to play king h1 because now the knight is hanging. Before the tactic, we had the check first. In this tactic, we're going to miss the check once we recapture with the knight. And that will stop this discovery being possible. So, that being said, I'll have to explain that after the game. But basically, best move here is king h1. Very simple. All right, takes the A pawn. Don't really care about it. No problem. Actually, I did care about it, but anyway. Uh, let's go here. No, okay. So we're losing by 2 points. We're ahead on time though. But positionally, even though we are behind on points, positionally, we're actually doing very, very well. And dare I say, better than our opponent. Um, this paradox of your opponent having more points than you automatically translating into a better position is usually very misunderstood. Now, here we can take. Let's not waste any time and take this bishop. And he goes there. Okay. Now let's go queen d3. Okay, I had queen h6. I missed that. Yeah, he sees it. He sees it. Okay. Let's try this G pawn idea. I always see it in books and I never use it.
calibrate their intelligence collection. Like, oh, Dave said it's this number. We missed a couple. Shit, let's put it out for the KGB, SVR, and
Okay, he
GRU
goes
to
there.
have it hit the streets to try to figure out which ones they
You can
missed. So
just push.
I'm here to protect national security, and I'm just trying to put all the general topics out there for public conversation to hold our government
I don't see
accountable.
any attacking prospects with the
It's
rook
like,
h8 move.
here's
I
a
think it was just more of
map of
a
this.
defensive
So
or
we have a,
prophylactic move.
constitutional
So
oversight issue
I'm
as this
not sure if I'm
program
missing anything, but I don't see
has
any
not
crazy
been,
tactics arising from that.
reported to Congress in the appropriate way. And I can get into a senator I talked to that has died recently, so I can, explain to you why I'm so sure. It's
He's
not
taking a
why I
very long
read,
time to
which we
process
can get
these
into like
thoughts.
what intel reports I read. I did get some stuff too.
Okay, now we have a
So
tactic here.
during my investigation, I'm like,
So can't move
I
this
need to
yet.
talk to somebody at the highest levels, right? So, and this will give you an
Okay,
idea of the kind of people we talk to. And this is the only one I'm going to talk about
let's
using
go
their
in.
name because they died 2 years ago. So, in spring 2021, I actually flew with a couple colleagues of mine to Las Vegas. And I met with
We
Senator
have to make sure
Reid
we basically
to talk
block the
about his
connection
support
between that
there.
rook
And of
and
course, he's undefeated
this
now. And I wanted to bring
h2
him
pawn.
on to
If we
talk
can
and
mitigate that
really
risk,
have a
then we're
conversation
in
on
a
it.
pretty
He
decent
was a Gambit
position.
member, right? Just the top most cleared senators and congressmen. He was the majority leader, for God's sakes, of the Senate. And I knew, he helped sponsor
It's always
Obama's
weird on
Iraq
chess.com. I'll have a
intervention
harder time. I
and
literally lost the
working with
game
Skinwalker
online
Ranch and
to
some other
a
things. And everybody kept saying,
500,
like, how did Harry Reid actually know?
believe it or not.
Why did he,
And then
give $21 million to
on the
deal with
same
the
page,
aerospace
I'm playing against the
workers?
2100, and
So I'm
he's
sitting
not
there,
even making me
and Harry
calculate a
Reid's
single
behind
move.
me, right next to
So
me,
I'm
just
not
like
sure. Something
witnesses.
very
Then I
weird is going
realized,
on with
and
chess.com.
he straight up says, he's
Not that
like,
I'm
yeah, I knew
criticizing,
we had nuclear
the
material.
organizers or
I was denied access for
creators.
decades.
Just
I
the
tried to
community
get
itself
access, and
is
then he
a
explained
bit
to me
sketchy,
I'm
let's
looking
say.
for an OSAP, and I was like
Okay.
shocked.
I was
Like, what
expecting
did
knight
David
b4,
just
bishop
say? Did he
g4.
just
Sorry,
invoke
bishop
the
b4
Supreme
doesn't really make
Veto?
sense.
I was already talking to these amazing
Kind of
high
makes
level
sense, but I
people,
don't see
but I have Harry Reid
why we have to
literally
even
saying, yes,
follow
we have
his.
material, and he knew it
I
was
think
not
he's trying to
human.
slow down our
Did
time.
Harry Reid have personal experience with this? I don't
Uh,
know if he's had any personal stuff in his
Let me think
personal
about
life.
this.
I mean, did he see it? He said, in terms of seeing the material himself, he said he was denied access for years, decades was his term, and he actually told me on behalf of me he was going. So he had like a weekly
Now,
call with President Joe Biden at the time, and he
can we
straight
do?
up said to me he was going to talk to
Don't
President
make
Biden
weakening moves, but at
about
the same
this
time, don't
issue,
make bad moves.
literally.
Hmm,
And then when he was telling me about OSAP, um, I was like, holy shit, I have like 20 other people that told me this, dude. So the real history, what fucking OSAP was, because I think there's a lot of
okay, let me think
people
about this.
out there that think they were looking at ghosts, Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, they went to the ranch as a secondary and tertiary objective, but the real reason. So, like, there's a document that came out a couple years ago through the
Okay,
FOIA,
let's
the
try
Defense
this. Let's
Intelligence
try this
Agency.
move.
There was this
Just have a
Special
feeling this is a
Access
good move.
Program request.
We're
They
trying to
told
break
me,
through,
you might have seen this, I think, like George Knapp and
so let's
a
not
couple
get
people reported on
distracted
this.
by
But he
uh,
sent to the Deputy Secretary of Defense, William Lynn,
our
and it was
opponents.
asking for
Let's go
one
here.
of the most serious SAPs you can ask for, what they call a bigoted, waived special access program. So waived means it's limited congressional reporting. It has a
Okay.
class of special access
Am
programs.
I missing
Bigoted
something,
means
guys?
it's like by name, and it was like
Let's
if
take,
you read the
obviously.
FOIA document, it was like Harry Reid, James Inhofe, Lou Elizondo, etc. I'm like, why are
Have
you
I missed
asking
something?
for the most
Okay.
serious SAP to be created for a program that ostensibly is looking at Skinwalker Ranch and stuff, and it doesn't make any sense. So what really happened there, and Harry Reid, God bless his soul, made this disclosure a couple weeks after we met in the New Yorker, and you can look this up. I think it was like a May
Okay, let's go
2021
knight
New
b3.
Yorker story where he says, I knew for decades, and he made this disclosure, not me. So I'm going to say the name of the contract. Harry Reid said this. You know, we knew that Lockheed Martin had this material for decades. I tried to get access and I was denied. And specifically with the Lockheed Martin stuff, he was talking about during the OSAP program. And for the people who are on this program, I submitted this shit to the officer, got this cleared, so don't freak out, but I'm telling the truth here. So Lockheed Martin wanted to divest itself from this material at a specific facility that's known to me.
He won't dare take with the king. He'll take with a pawn.
Like street
We
across
then
the
go
street.
here and hopefully plant our knight on
And the idea
e6. That would
was
be a
they
decent
made a
position.
catcher's mitt, a security catcher's mitt for their ship
Let's see if he
that was the
actually
most
walks
serious
into that
attack
plan though. All right, he
possible.
doesn't.
The
Well, yeah, he does
contractor
actually.
and the
Can
other
still do it.
government customer, which was the Central Intelligence Agency, for that specific Lockheed material, and it was shit that they recovered from like the 50s and stuff. It was like bits and pieces of, of like hull structure, shit like that. And um, so they were going to tech transfer it, and the 21 or 22 million dollars was actually for Bigelow Aerospace to build out, you know, facilities in Las Vegas and material analysis equipment. And I saw the staff meeting slides, I saw the paperwork. Like there's a paperwork trail I've seen on this shit, and I talked to the people involved in this program, and even Jim Lakatsky, who ran the program, who's a retired DIA officer, PhD in engineering, even made this disclosure in his book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, page 152 to 153. And he also made a disclosure
Okay, let
a
me think
couple
about
weeks
this move.
ago. I think it
Let me think about
was
this move.
on Weaponized podcast with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, where
All right, all I know
he's like,
is
yeah,
we need to keep
we
our
had a hall
rook.
cracked and we broke into the hall and we gained access.
Uh,
And he ran
amateur
that through the
check
same
move.
security process as I did. And so Jim Lakatsky, who
Okay,
ran this
let's go
program, is
here.
also going on the record that he is aware,
Let's just keep things
personally
compact.
aware, of intact vehicles and everything. But so they gained
Goes there.
access.
Okay.
What does that mean? And by what method did they gain access? The way he wrote it in his book, I can only infer it sounded forcible.
Let's promote first.
So through some kind of
He takes.
means, I don't
Now,
know if it
do
was
we
like
take?
C2 laser or something. I don't actually know how they gained
Or are we
access,
walking into
but
something? Let's
imagine
go
it
here.
was not permissive access. They like broke into the damn thing. So this thing is essentially
Okay, goes
sealed,
there. Check.
and it's some
No,
sort of
it doesn't work.
what was the shape of this thing? The Katsky didn't disclose the shape on this particular vehicle.
Let's go
As
this way.
far as I what about the dimensions? I don't believe he did in his book, but I think it's like chapter 11 in his new book or something. I glanced at it, but he did make that disclosure on video as well. And I do encourage both the Aero Office, which is the DoD's UAP task force successor, and Congress to ask Dr. James Lakatsky to
Okay,
come in for
we fumbled
classified
this game.
testimony, because the disclosure in his one book that he wrote with Colin Kelleher, George Knapp, and then the
Okay,
second book,
it's
well, the guy saying he has close personal
very
knowledge,
interesting because his
he needs to go to
skill
trial.
really
So
shifted in the end
I,
there.
I don't know James Lakatsky, but I do
1 second.
encourage him to be a back witness. But going back to that transfer of
The
Lockheed,
opening was
so long
very
story
relaxed,
short, I can't
and
get into all the
then
nuanced
literally towards
details,
the
but
end, as he's under time
basically
pressure,
the
he's like
CIA
playing the best
said fuck you to DIA
best
and
lines.
Lockheed, and
1 second.
it was totally killed. So Harry Reid's request to get the material transferred to the OSAP program was totally killed because of bureaucracy and kind of fiefdom stuff. So they used that money, and then they
Yeah,
they
look at
wrote
this
those
chart
defense
up here.
intelligence reference
This
documents that
shows who
DIRDC
has the
grants
edge.
people who's familiar with it
Opening
first
started with me
early
having
on.
the edge, and
And then
then
they did look
he
at
had the edge,
Skinwalker
let's say
Ranch
early
because
middle game.
they thought that
Late middle game, he had a
studying
really good edge,
kind of
and
the
then it went
voodoo
back up
phenomenon
towards the end game.
aspects of this. Now, I've never been to the
Became
ranch,
equal. Then
never
Black had the edge
experienced the
again.
ranch for myself, but
Now
obviously
slightly equal
we
again.
both know a bunch of
And
people
then
that have been to
literally
the
from
ranch and
here,
seen some trippy stuff, or at
it's
least
all
I have.
black. Like that playing
But
style
what
just
I would say would
shifted. I don't
be
know if
the
that's like
concurrency with
a
the
metric that people
program
analyze.
in
You
this
could say, okay, you
case
made a
with the
blunder or something,
CIA to unlock
but not
the
necessarily.
Lockheed
My
Martin
side
stuff.
says zero
Which
blunders.
actually, I'll tell you right now, it's
But for
absurd
some
to say that,
reason, the
but I
playing
ran that shit
difference
through
shifted
security.
this much towards the end.
To me, it's a
I don't
pretty
know.
humbling
Bit weird
experience
to
to
me.
talk about kind of
Anyway,
detailed
let's get to the next
sensitive
game.
stuff like that. But basically, they studied the
Uh,
ranch.
let's
They
go
gained favor.
to.
Like, hey, look at all all this stuff we're figuring out, this
Okay.
paranormal stuff that's somehow connected to the
Let's get a new game.
phenomenon
10 minutes.
on the ranch, but ultimately they never got a
And
waiver with the government customer,
this will probably
and
be
the
my last one for
program kind
today.
of died a slow death because of a lot of politics in the
And we
past.
have a 2000. All
So
right.
that's kind of
Let's
the
go knight f6. We'll
long, the
do
short
a
of it.
Indian
It's an
system.
awesome
d5.
program that, I wanted to make sure the public knew it's not what you think it
And here
was.
I
There
think
was some other stuff
can go
behind the
c5.
scenes that, I wanted to speak truth to power on.
So this particular vehicle that they had recovered from the 1950s, what was the source of it? Where did they find it?
Those details, I did not get clear. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So they have in possession this thing. They gain access to this thing, and what do they report once they gain access to it?
Oh, those details I do not know. That's
All
probably
right,
a
he's
question
given
for
up a
Dr.
bishop pair.
Kapinski.
So
I guess you
already
need those
we may have
details.
an edge.
I don't know.
So this thing is housed
And
somewhere.
can go here.
It is.
And
Yes,
this will
sir.
give us time to play e5.
It may still be in the same location that I know about.
Now we have a very good
And
position,
how
but we got to
many
make it count.
people have access to this, and how did they prevent this information from
I can give
being
him a check.
released?
I mean, it goes back to the compartmentation and kind of the ecosystem of secrecy in this community, right?
Now we
Only
can
a
take the pawn.
limited
Yeah,
amount of
create those
people,
weaknesses.
at least at the time, on Lockheed Martin's
And
side.
what's the killer blow here?
And Lockheed Martin was complaining basically like, look, like
Definitely not
the
castling.
secrecy's ridiculous. We can't even bring the right engineers. Like, imagine you're like a hot engineer, hot engineer, no, hot shot engineer. You might be hot too, I don't know. But that you're fresh out of grad school. Maybe you're like the best PhD electrical engineer. You want to do cool shit. You want to publish an IEEE. You want to
Let's go here.
climb the ladder corporately.
I just have a feeling if we can restrict his
A Lockheed Martin
his
kind of
development of the
comes
king
to,
side.
yeah.
So by attacking
You're
this
gonna.
pawn,
I can
we've
read
now
you
slowed
Jobava
down the
like
development
crazy,
of his
but if
bishop.
you're ever gonna publish papers on it,
And this will
you're
give
never
us
gonna
time.
go
Yeah,
back to
that's
what
why
you
he's pushed the
worked
pawn.
on,
This will now give
and
us
it's
time
probably not the most
to
career
formulate some
advancing. But
attacks.
if you want to work on something cool,
What do we
like
start with
all
now?
you, because it's unacknowledged until you
Okay,
sign this piece of paper,
let's go
non-disclosure
for
agreement.
this. We're gonna hit
Um,
these two pawns,
uh, uh,
and let's see what will come
sorry,
of
but
that.
here's the raw deal. And a lot of people are like, oh no. And it's not like Lockheed Martin could broadcast this to
Let's
universities
go
like,
here.
come work for us.
Right.
You'll work on crazy shit. But that is very akin to a lot of other black programs
If
in
he takes the
government
knight,
around
we just
knowledge and
take back,
nature.
and
You
we're
don't
fine.
know what you're signing up for until you get bred
Okay,
in.
now
I've been
as he
briefed a lot
blundered
of
here.
that kind of conventional stuff in my career. So
Let's go
What
for
what's
this
some of
check,
the,
and we'll
the
find out.
problems that Bob Lazar, and I'd love to get your take on Bob Lazar. One of the things that he talked about was that science can't really operate in a vacuum.
Yeah.
When you separate the metallurgists from the propulsions experts, from the biological experts, like
And I
they're not
think
allowed
we're
to bring
probably
in
winning this one.
and they're not allowed to bring in
Let me
other
not speak too
experts
soon,
from
though.
different.
Well, that was the frustration that I had some
Okay,
friends that
now
I've known my entire career, like almost 14 years, right? I literally know them personally. I had a relationship with them, but they ended up, spilling the beans where, look, we're on the program. I'm an engineer for X, Y, and Z. We can't even cross talk across like the cubicles for God's sakes. Like I can't. I'm looking at material X doing some
okay.
X-ray diffraction
Let's go
testing,
queen
which
h4.
is
I don't know if this wins. We'll
electrons
find
and
out.
how it bends and looking at the atomic arrangements. I can't even
I
like
don't see any dangerous
cross-talk
checks they
that
might
with
have
other aspects of the program. It's
necessarily.
just
I think we can
ridiculous.
kind of pounce
And
all of
that's
them.
kind of their frustration. Yeah, I knew you were probably going to ask me about Balthazar. I know. I figured as much.
Why did they do
Yeah,
that though? If everybody was already sworn to secrecy, everybody already has NDAs.
Now check.
It seems the most effective way of reverse engineering, or at least
We
gaining an
move.
understanding
Let's
of
say he
how these
takes
things
the
are
and
structured.
rook.
that's exactly
We
how
take
that
back.
camp was, right? People working on the fuses for the bomb
Yeah,
didn't
I think
necessarily know
it's
it
not
was
so
going
bad.
to a nuclear weapon. And I've seen this kind of compartmentation is to secrecy in other programs, and it is debilitating for
Okay,
progress.
not the move
And
I was expecting.
honestly, as a former fiduciary of the taxpayer
And we
dollars,
can
it's one of
castle.
the
What do
best
you know?
modus operandis
Should we
to do
castle
in that
now?
way.
Yeah, let's
And
do it.
very few people kind of
We
have
do
that
not want our
common
king in
ground
the
and look
middle.
across the silos and
Do
see what's
blunder.
going on. It just became
We
very
do blunder
dysfunctional, and they
a
were afraid of people being too cross-breeded into
bishop,
the different
but
silos
hopefully this
for
is worth it. Let's go.
counter-espionage, counterintelligence.
Right.
That they were very
And there
critical
we can
of
check him.
this program is done during the Cold War, and we were afraid of Russian spies, Soviet moles, and so we made it ultra locked down, but to the detriment of national security. And that was one of the crazy things
And I don't think
that
he
got
has
me that I
time
wanted to listen to.
to.
So stupid. Like
Right.
we should be making
Yeah,
more
he doesn't have
progress on
time.
this.
Were there any breaches that you're
Get
aware of where
to.
foreign agents were able to gain access to materials or an understanding of what
Okay,
was
now I need to think about this move. Check
So I'll
him.
tell
No,
you about some intel documents I read that
it's
kind
not
of
gonna work.
obliquely answers that question. So there were sensitive human-derived forward intelligence that I read because I had access to kind of the
Hmm.
ATIP OSAP classified archives, and I was like thumbing through everything, and there's some other people were bringing me documents to evaluate. And I'll never forget, I had what to say, stolen by the U.S. Intelligence assessment from a certain foreign adversary discussing the U.S. reverse engineering program, and I was like, and that was actually another like,
Okay, let's go here. Let's go here.
and so
I've
I had this
calculated many moves
emissary
in this
also
position,
confirming this
but
program literally
this one
because
seems
the
to be
guy's
the
still
one that
trading
makes the most sense.
intelligence, and so
Now we
they
can take.
certainly had a limited
He goes
knowledge, at
there.
least back then, that
Okay,
the U.S. had a program like this, a particular adversary, and actually I was like, well, I want more. Like, I know who wrote this, literally, or who got it, right, on behalf of the United States government. So I went to that certain agency through the approved and official way. And this is kind of
let's
part
go
of the
here.
myriad reprisals against me. The agency was like, oh, yes, we have what you're looking for, Dave. Um, you're going to need to sign a one-time read-in to something, come visit us to, go to the vault, read it,
Let's go
right?
here.
Hard copy. But yes, we have what you're looking for. And ultimately, from what I was told by friends in higher places, my request kind of went up the flagpole at that agency. And all of a sudden, the agency ghosted my boss and I for like 2 months. And then when I really pressed them hard to gain access, because I'm like, I have a need to know. I need to evaluate this intelligence for fucking Congress. And they debriefed me from all my accesses over in that other sister agency and made up some bogus excuse like I shouldn't have been briefed anything in the first place, literally. And basically gave me an administrative middle finger like persona non grata, don't ever fucking ask us about that shit again. And I'm sure the person who made the oops that told me they
Okay,
had
I
what I
think
was
we're
looking for
close to winning
probably
this
got
one. If I
admonished
can
and
find
slapped
the
on the
right
wrist
continuation.
because I never heard from that person again, even though it was
And I
somebody I
think I
actually
found
used
it.
to work
Let's go there.
on occasion with. So that was also another way I knew I was, there was a lot of smoke and fire because I, had stuff like that happen to me.
so this, but knowing that our adversaries were aware of this
Okay,
reverse
and
engineering
checkmate.
program, are we
Just checking that
aware
was accurate.
of their reverse engineering program?
All right, now
Or sharp?
we have a brilliant. Let's see how we played.
You could
Let's go
probably
to
guess,
chesses.
and you wouldn't be, it won't be too shocking.
Okay.
But I won't
Okay,
acknowledge what the U.S. may
let's
know.
actually review
Right.
this one since we have a
So
brilliant. Let's
are
see
we
what that brilliant
aware of
was.
numbers in terms of like at least a rough estimate of how many are available to these other
And what do we get?
I think
Oh
that's
my god, really bad
extremely simple.
accuracy. But what was the brilliant move?
You can read into that.
yeah.
Oh, Queen H4.
And
Right.
has anyone made any
Yeah,
progress?
that makes sense.
Yeah,
That
I can't get
literally
it.
unlocked everything. So,
We've made progress. They've made
uh,
progress because that's like straight up national security
so we
program.
have
I want
take. We
just to be
played all the
clear, I
book
want
moves
the
actually up
U.S.
until here,
populace to learn a lot of this, and
and then
this
we
is why
attack. Okay,
another reason
interesting.
why I went public is like I need to call everybody out. I'm not
Yeah,
here to
once we got these
acknowledge the U.S.
weaknesses,
government puppet show, but there is an
the position
element
was
of the U.S.
really good
government
for
and a
us.
clear defense contractor base that
I actually missed a chance
we
to
have
win
a three-branch
the
government
bit. The
oversight
knight. The
issue
knight is
that
hanging
goes
here.
back to Harry Reid. Harry Reid didn't even get access. He didn't even
Then
talk to him himself
takes.
to confirm
That was
it.
a bit of a
He
blunder.
said he was going to go talk to Biden.
Massive blunder, but then
Because I think there needs to be a disclosure
and that
limit,
doesn't
and this
work
goes
because of
back to
check.
what's
All right.
currently in legislation
So
right
you
now.
should see this double attack on the knight and the king in that
Because
position. All
90
right.
some
Next game.
90 some odd percent of this should should be open for public discovery, public analysis, and academia. This should be like, at very least, true nuclear programs such as nuclear physics is studied in a university. Nuclear weapons, classified, because that makes people in the pink mist. That's really sensitive. We don't need everybody to know how to do that. So I
Okay.
think the science, the
Last game
legit
for
weapons
today.
related stuff,
First game we lost,
for
second game we won.
national
Let's leave
security stuff,
with
sure,
more
reasonably
wins than
classified
losses.
that. But these programs, we need a change, and that's why you saw the Schumer amendment, right? And I think you might have read that on air or something
Why
in a
is it
previous
taking so
episode,
long
if I remember
to
correctly.
get?
Chuck Schumer, and I knew about the amendment a couple months before I went public, and that's kind of another reason why I did what I did. I'm like, fuck,
Hold on.
I'm like the
Let
only
me
guy that
refresh the page.
has the opportunity to do this. I know what's in the chute, so to speak, that Chuck Schumer and his staff had with the Schumer amendment, which is 67 pages of literal we want to disclose. And
Why
I'm
is
like, I have to
chess.com
spike the
taking so long?
football by going public because, I can read the tea leaves on the Hill, and I think that they were hesitant to do anything without being able to point to something publicly. And I'm like, I'll be that fucking guy and just send it. Um, and and then of course a month after I went public, I guess I pushed Chuck Schumer over the ledge. And I do know he talked to the White House about the amendment too, because it's not like Chuck Schumer's gonna propose groundbreaking legislation like that without talking to the national security advisor or president. Like, I know
I've
Chuck
been
is super
trying to
close.
like get a match
And,
for
so you have the 67-page
literally
amendment
two
that was
minutes
called the
now,
UAP
and it's
Disclosure
not
Act of
working. Why?
2023.
All right, finally. So I
It
guess
was
maybe
the
it was hard to
Schumer
find someone.
amendment, co-sponsored by
What should we go for? Let's
Gillibrand,
go for e4. Let's see
Rubio,
his knowledge on e4 openings.
Rounds, yeah, and Young. And kudos for those
e5,
senators who
and
stepped
let's
up
do
to the
knight
plate
c3.
because they
Sorry,
know
knight
this is
f3.
real. I know what meetings they've had with certain other
And
individuals, and
let's go knight
he's
c3.
more credible than myself. And so this act, which is
Bishop
super
c5.
important, is currently in
You're supposed to
conference
take
as we
here.
speak
Okay, it goes knight
in
f6.
Capitol Hill. So
And now we
the
go
amendment
d4.
was drafted
So
super
old book
close.
moves
That's
up until now.
fiscal year 2024
Old book moves
National
up
Defense
until now.
Authorization Act. So that is the act that funds the military basically every year, right? So it's an amendment within this bill. And
So
the
far,
act is
old
really
theory.
long, but the main meat of it is about halfway through the act. It talks
Here
about
we
a
take.
presidential panel or agency, which is
He's
currently
also
in
called Patrick.
person, and a controlled use or
Okay, let me send
disclosure
him a
agreement
request.
that's 6 years in length, conceivably from 2024 to 2030. In this panel, and you can read this is public law, anybody can read this. They want scientists, economists, sociologists, etc. It's kind of like
Let me send him a message.
people you want
Say
to help craft the plan for the president. And this whole bill was actually built off the JFK Records Act, which I know, well, they never released all the records. Well, we put some teeth in the bill, some eminent domain, some other
send him
stuff
a
to,
message. Say hi to YouTube.
kind of force the issue. Now, granted,
Now,
the chief
back to
executive,
the
the
game. Let's be
president, has
serious.
the final say. The
So
panel
let's make
can't
the screen slightly bigger.
hold
So
the executive
if it
authority.
goes
I know the president does
bishop b4,
support that.
uh, what I
But
remember is you now take
so
the
the
knight.
Senate already passed it. They're chill with this.
Now
This is
bishop
like
d3.
we're good to go. And but there's pushback in the
He'll go
House right
here.
now that
You
is
take
pardon my
castles,
language,
maybe.
fucking ridiculous. So they're saying,
Then,
for one, it's
yeah.
duplicating
Well, it
the
doesn't do that.
DOD Arrow's office activities. They're
Now,
going to
before
use
he
it
plays
as
h6, we want to get to that knight.
reports, trying to figure out
Let's now
what's gold,
go
what's
this way.
white trash, and what's weird stuff. And of course, they are doing an historical review
And we don't want to
using
give up the bishop there.
understanding the
And
U.S.'s history on this too. But the problem is with that agency,
in this
it's within the
type of
DoD
game,
and OC,
no.
not above.
Does that change
So
anything?
you have an issue reaching into Department of Energy, other,
No, we can just
cabinet
castle.
level agencies. So you need a presidential level panel that can declassify stuff, reach into other agencies, and tell certain secretaries, we're coming in, we want your stuff under presidential authority. So what's happening in the House, from what I'm told from people on the Hill that are working the issue right now, you have the chair of the House Intel Committee, Mike Turner, who's blocking this, from Ohio, Dayton, Ohio area, right, Pat? Weird.
Okay. Now remember, he
And
is 2100,
yes,
so he's probably
and Mike Rogers, lawyers, which I'm kind of
Going
surprised.
for
From
book
Alabama, he's the
moves
chair of the
mostly
consular
now.
services committee.
Could we
It's
win
all
2 pawns? It
probably liking
takes.
Mike right now. So
He takes, he
Mike
gets the bishop
Turner,
pair,
if
and
I
then we
remember
take.
right,
I
left
don't
his
like that.
committee in December of last year.
Let's start with
He
this.
wasn't
Yeah.
there, but his staff and lawyers were. And of course, he goes on Fox Business after the hearing.
Now
Doesn't
let's go
respond to
f4.
this whistleblower. He has no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, really? Tell me, Mike. Have you ever been an intel officer or served in the military? Oh wait, you've been the mayor of Dayton, Ohio. You were voted the most corrupt person in Congress a couple years ago. And pull up his PAC donors. Who are his biggest donors? Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing. Okay, so and first of all, if you thought you needed more information or wanted to talk to me personally, why didn't you call me back when I reported to your committee? So, and furthermore, besides blocking the bill, I'm sure you're familiar with like Representative Tim Burchett of Alabama, and he's been very outspoken on the issue. Well, we may not agree with everything Tim says about conventional stuff. That's, here nor
All right,
there,
let's do
but
queen f3. I
he's
think
been
we've
in
got to be a
shaming
bit
on
more
the
aggressive
oversight
in
committee, and
this
he's,
line.
one of the members that I think is
But so
probably
far, so
public on the
good.
oversight
So far, so good. We haven't made
regardless.
like a
So, like,
serious mistake.
and Mike Turner is looking to fund
My goal
radio
is keeping
staffers
the
on
bishop pair,
Capitol
but
Hill for the
since we
last two
both
weeks
lost
in
the bishop pair, I'm
opposition
not so
candidate
concerned.
for Tim's reelection in 2024. So why is Mike
Now it's just
Turner
about who's going to
going
get
out of his
better
way to
placed
destroy the career
minor
of a
pieces.
courageous Tennessee
So whoever
representative on the
gets
oversight
the better
committee?
minor pieces is going to have a
And why are you blocking a bill? And it's like
really
a
strong
toss up.
advantage. Minor
How do
pieces
you
for beginners
balance, for the people that
just
are
refers to the
preparing
knight and the
to
bishop.
leave?
So the
Um,
3 point
there's
pieces
nothing to see here. Why am I
and
blocking
major
Mike
pieces,
Turner in the
queen,
House
rooks. Those are the heavy
blocking this
duty
bill that is,
pieces.
in my opinion, the
Now we're
most
going to move the queen
important
to g3, but let's be
legislation
careful.
for transparency in American history.
Let's be
If
careful
there's nothing to
because
see here, if I'm fucking
he
crazy,
can later
the
on go for
intel
this
generals I
tactic.
talk to are crazy, the intel docs that I read are incorrect, they're
Okay,
fucking
if the knight
forgeries of
doesn't move,
passages or
if
something
this knight
like
moves,
that.
then that tactic will be
Good
possible.
friends of mine that worked on the program
And if
are
this bishop
bullshitting
moves.
me in some
So
concerted
maybe it's not a problem. Maybe I'm just
operation against me and
yapping
my
for no reason.
colleagues that it would be totally crazy that you
Okay,
conduct
now
that with precautions.
he wants to
Then
chase the bishop
why don't
away.
we just
But
pass
what's
this
his?
and see what happens?
Okay, let's go here. I have a good feeling about this move.
And why? What do you think the answer to that is? Special interests want to keep the genie in the bottle, even though the toothpaste
Okay.
is coming out of the tube, and I think it's like a death rattle in this industrial complex that doesn't want change. And I'm not here to be some total adversary. I think there needs to be a truth and reconciliation process on this issue. I'm not here to throw people in jail. I'm not here for big contractors involved to lose money. I think would be a boon. And I think the leadership in these companies need to think about this where if we're open with this, you can hire people, you can push the subject into undergraduate
Now
and
the
grad
tactic
schools
I've
to
played
learn
is
stuff
very
about
risky, and if I get it
different
wrong, then I'm toast.
research to say this is an unclassified, just like nuclear physics.
Ha ha ha! You said hi.
And this answers a fundamental question, for humanity. Are we alone, or what happens when we die? Well, I don't know about that, but
Let's
are
see.
we alone? Well, the answer is we're not alone, and I know that with 100% certainty. Which, as an intel
Let
officer,
me.
you never say 100%,
We
but
have the same name.
all things pointed towards
Okay, goes for the worst
basically people I
variation.
talk to, like Harry Reid, and I use him as an example, but I talk to the highest of the high that you possibly talk to catch my drift. So,
Is
unless
that a
people are
grandmaster
online
called
kind of
Patrick?
covering up something else,
I'm
which I
not
don't
sure.
know
So we
anybody at
go
this
here,
point, because the phenomenon
and we get
is
what's called
real.
a
It's
skewer.
been going on for thousands of years. People have been seeing strange things, and
We
not
get what's
everybody's
called a
dressed in
skewer.
white. So that's kind of my long diatribe about what's happening.
What do they think these things are? The people that you talk
Yeah.
to.
Yeah,
So
skewer.
they specifically, the people on the program that handle the material, that were in executive level briefings with Intel community
Yeah,
leaders
he picked the
also
worst
for
option
years
there.
last
He was
year.
supposed to take the
So they
pawn,
did use the
and
term
then I would have
extraterrestrial,
gone check.
ET or whatever.
Sorry, he was supposed to take the bishop. I'll show you that line in
Okay,
a
that
second.
isn't a possible origin, but the Schumer Amendment, if you read it, it specifically uses non-human intelligence, NHI, very deliberately
Now he
because
goes for the
they
check,
want to
and
catch
here we have
everything.
to block with
Because
a
what if
queen.
some of this stuff is not ET
Oh my
and they
days,
can
a
use
double
that as
check.
an escape clause? Well, we don't
Wow,
even know if it's extraterrestrial, so this doesn't apply. So that's why
that
he
is
goes with
such a
this
strong move. Oh my god.
broadest possible. I mean, besides ET, I mean, a lot of it would be my
Okay,
own
could we still win? Let's see.
personal opinion. I think we have a couple conceivable buckets, and I'm using the work of Jacques Vallée, other people that have thought deeply on the issue, on how the phenomenon has changed since antiquity. It showed itself in a different way. Like a good example is like witches sitting on your chest phenomenon with
Let's go here.
paralysis in medieval and Enlightenment era became this alien abduction phenomenon in the modern era, excuse me. And is it the recipient and their analytical overlay cognitively seeing the phenomenon based on a modern
I'm trying to
interpretation
think, was there a
from the
move I
inside
missed?
out? Whereas the phenomenon, this is like
Okay,
Jacques Vallée's
now you're
book,
thinking of it now.
Passport to Magnolia. Magnolia, I can never pronounce it right, 1969, where he talks about the phenomenon seems to like masquerade itself as different stuff over the years, but we've seen roughly the same stuff. You look at the Foo Fighters of World War II. There are declassified Air Force OSI reports from the 50s. People can Google that talk about flying
Okay, here I
butane
think we take the
tanks
bishop.
with the same measurements, approximately what we saw
Take
in the
control of the d
2000
file,
R2
and I think we're
tanks,
okay.
but they called it flying propane or butane tanks in the
Okay,
50s.
we're
So
gonna have a very hard time now
from a morphology or in the Air Force
trying
technical
to
intel, we call it the VRE,
balance the
visual
position.
reconnaissance. Like they basically look the same, and we can back azimuth that, you know, decades, if not hundreds of years in the past. Wheels of
With the
Ezekiel
right
were
play, we can get
precipitation
a
type
draw. With
objects,
the right
right?
play.
And
Then again,
Ezekiel is
it's a
cryptic, where
2100.
this is an allegory or fable in the Bible, and it doesn't
No,
say the event happened. Just like the in the Vedic text, you have the battles, the blue people, and the battles up in the
let's go
sky
here.
that sound like nuclear and directed energy weapons. Like, what's going on there? I mean, maybe that's a Graham Hancock or Randall Carlson type thing. They know more than I. So there is a real phenomenon that origin undetermined, but it's trippy, and sometimes it presents itself in like a non-corporeal form too. Orbs, balls of energy,
I think hey, we just need to keep control of the
quantum
d file, and
pulses
we're
from
fine.
bipedal
Luckily, our
particles
e
on the
pawn is
rabbit's fowl. So I
very
think
much holding
that
tight,
might be,
holding our
call it
position tight.
interdimensional, call it shadow biome, crypto
It goes
terrestrial,
there. We
different
just take.
theories.
I don't need to
If the
spend too
current
much thinking
theories
on that move.
are from another planet
Yeah,
or from another
Now let's
dimension.
go here.
I think those are the primary. I mean, there's
He's
so
probably gonna go
many
queen c3, trying to go after
origins
this
that we
pawn.
probably can't conceptualize as humans because our meat is stuck in 3D and we don't understand, and our IQs are only so high. So there might be some origins that we don't understand.
In terms of like interdimensional travel.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you talk to mainstream physicists, they say like crossing dimensions physically is kind of a trope of sci-fi, and that's why I used an example. And I know some physicists don't like me talking about this theory, but it is a theory. Like, so the holographic principle, which was originally conceived to explain how information is encoded on an event horizon of a black hole, which is a distance away from the singularity of a black hole, where if you cross it, you're fucked because you're going to get ripped to shreds or you're not coming back. And
Okay, let's go here.
that principle talks about how information basically from higher dimensional space can be encoded in lower dimensional space. And the easiest example is like us casting
He
a
sacks
shadow
the
on the
queen.
sun,
Oh my
right? A
god.
three-dimensional object
That
shooting
must be a
shadow
brilliant
on a
move.
sidewalk. If
Now
you
we
lived in
toast.
two-dimensional space, flatland, you'd be tripped out. What the fuck am I seeing? But they just don't know that it's really just a person in higher
Yeah,
dimensional
this is
space. So
losing.
it's some of
GG.
I mean, obviously we have physical material that's in three-dimensional space that we've recovered, but at least maybe some of the phenomenon
Yeah, very strong play. Very strong play.
But as you
Let's
project it
quickly get
across
one
and
more in.
project it into our 3D plus time space, so it's something to
And
think
another
about when
2000.
we
Let's
do
go.
it on a day-to-day basis, like casting shadows. So, and that might be some of what we're seeing too. But I mean, I presume we know more. The people I talked to did not espouse they had full knowledge either. Like I said, the normal colloquialism was to say ET or extraterrestrial.
Could
So,
you
Let's go
dumb
there.
down this concept of interdimensional? Like,
yeah.
what I know in physics, they've theorized that there are multiple dimensions other than those that we can currently detect.
Yeah, and a lot of that is based off of like large. This is my bachelor's degree talking. I know there's going to be like some physicist who has a PhD. He's like, oh, Jake, you fucked that up.
Right.
But basically, you know, from high energy particle collisions and based on the deflection angles and all this stuff, what happens when the particles collide, you know,
Okay, let's go here.
it confirms certain theoretical frameworks about extra spatial dimensions. And you know, I can't speak with any real authority on precisely how that works, but a lot of whether it be string theory or quantum mechanics are based off of higher spatial dimensions. And so that is a
Let's go there.
mainstream physics theoretical framework. That's not like wacky or loony or anything like that. So but that's basically
And then we'll have time for knight to
possible. Like I
h6.
said,
Just have
we
to
don't
get
really
away
have a
from
good
this attack.
theory if you work
But we
in
will have
like
two
5D
moves for that.
space, for example. It's almost like
Goes there.
remember the
Yeah,
ending of the
predictable.
movie Interstellar, right?
Yes.
Where he's pushing the books.
Mm-hmm.
He's like in a tesseract, which is like a 4 to 5D structure, but he's trying to interact with 3D space. And of course, he like leaves that space to come back to his daughter many years later.
Yeah, and then by the time he moves the knight, we would have
But
already blocked
so that's a way to conceptualize it,
that
and
attack.
something you may have watched in film. It's kind of like the ending of Interstellar. Oh yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Which is based on what? Like, what theory?
Let's go here.
So the physicist
So
Kip
we can just
Thorne
ignore
was
his
the
attacks.
very famous guy. He was a big black hole and wormhole guy. I think it's Caltech or somewhere in California. Kip Thorne actually did all the physics equations and everything for Christopher Nolan to make sure that they were conceptualizing and visualizing black holes and wormholes and all that stuff correctly in the movie. We saw like the halo around the black hole when they were coming in with the ship and everything. That's actually based off of real physics models that Kip Thorne did the calculations.
And I think we won this one.
Pretty cool, actually. Christopher Nolan took it to that level.
So this idea that these beings, or whatever you want to call them, exist in some other dimension. Do we have
He has to take this knight, which
an
will buy
idea
us
to say
time.
about
Okay,
this?
never
Do we
mind.
have an understanding?
Doesn't want to
Do
take it.
we have any sort of
Let's go there.
communication with these beings that give us some sort of an understanding or a map of this?
Yeah, the interaction stuff, that's a sensitive area. There were multiple very senior people that were concerned about talking about that kind of stuff with me. I mean, that is certainly, as nuts as it sounds, that was a real subject of conversation. That sounds like something out of like Star Trek First Contact.
But it doesn't if you have vehicles.
Well, yeah, so it's like once you realize the phenomenon's real, then you realize we've recovered artifacts and biologics or dead pilots, if you will. Even though it's kind of creepy to even think about that in your worldview. You don't think they were ever alive sometimes too, right? And I'll leave it at that only because that is something you know the president and his cabinet needed to disclose this in a controlled manner, going back to that amendment. I'm
Okay,
not here
now we just need to convert.
to
We're winning, but we just
push
need
the
to
subject in
convert.
an improper way, and that sounds like why don't you just
Let's
do
see
it
if we
this
can
way?
do it.
There's a
If we
lot
can
of
get queen to a1 check,
tertiary ramifications
we have a very good chance.
theologically, our relationship geopolitically with our allies and adversaries. This is not rip off the band-aid and it's simple. There's a lot of complex stuff behind the
But
scenes.
yeah, at this level,
And that's why
players are very,
laying out
very
all the general stuff that
aggressive,
we
and
talked about
one
during the
mistake,
discussion process,
and
I
your
should
whole
not be
game
able
goes to
disclosing,
shreds.
and it would be highly inappropriate
Uh,
to
I
because I
think he
care
blundered.
about
Let's go
the
there.
health of the
Check.
United States and its people and national security for me to do so. So I know there's people that are like, "Well, why doesn't Dave say X, Y, and Z?" It's like
And that will give us
this is
time for this
serious. This is
check.
not like, haha, let me
And
tell
this
you a
check.
story. I'm a serious guy. I ruined my fucking career doing this. I was going to make lieutenant colonel in the Air Force in this winter. I was on track to be, a flag officer equivalent civilian in my career. I spent 18 years in uniform, if you count the cadet time, right? Uh, my whole adult life was serving as an intel officer. But I wanted to see, and I'm 36, I'm
Okay,
34.
let's go here. I don't
I
think we'll
wanted
have
to see
time.
change, so I'm throwing the flag out, and I'm here to hold the government accountable to do the right thing in a
We
manner
must
that
attack
is
F1.
mature
Has
and
he made it easier or
thorough. Because
harder
I
for
don't
us?
begin to say that I know everything,
Let's go
all the
check.
different ramifications of saying certain things publicly. I don't know all the
And
answers to that, and that's why I have to be careful because I don't even know. I'll call it, collateral damage effects, to use kind of a military term. What may happen if certain things in detail that are revealed that I might not know the ramifications thereof because there's something that I'm not privy to. So this is like a serious. This is not like a fun situation. This is like humanity changing, hopefully in a good way.
okay, let's go
But
here.
this is like,
Maybe we should have taken a pawn
uh,
and just gotten a
quite
pass pawn.
serious. And I,
But then
risked
he
my
also has a pass
personal and
pawn, so that's
professional
one thing
life,
you got to keep in mind.
personal life, things that
And
happened
that race did not look too
to
exciting.
public and
So let's see.
sort
Hopefully,
of
we've chosen the right. We
myself
made the
and my
right decision.
generation, want to see a change.
Can you discuss the things that have happened to you personally?
And let's see
Yeah,
what he
so
chooses. Yeah, so
a
he's pushing his
lot of the
pass pawn.
stuff I have to be
Now,
honestly vetted because it's an
really got
open
to calculate this.
general reprisal investigation
Let's
on
go
my
here.
behalf, and I'm not here to compromise
And
the
we'll have
investigation by
checkmate
tipping off my
in
anti-bosses
two
that may be
if
watching
we
me.
can get
But
this first check in motion.
when I really started looking into this, I mean, they came after me so hard to try to revoke my clearance,
Yeah, he's not going to have
ruin
much
my
time
career,
to push
take
that
me out
pawn.
of my agency, and they accused me of everything you could possibly think of,
Yeah, once we
but with
get this
no
check, it's game
evidence.
over. So check.
For
Let's see what he
example,
does.
at first they wanted to say,
And
"Oh,
queen f1 is
you
mate.
have mental health stuff you didn't report to us, and we're
Excellent.
concerned because we think you might have an ongoing
Uh,
mental health
Now, I'm
issue."
surprised he didn't see this line.
I reported that I had
So
PTSD
check
from that
h6, and
in my
yeah,
military
I would
service
imagine
several
he
years
had no
ago, and I
responses here.
still helped for that. Like
But
I'm
after
not
this
ashamed of
check,
that.
going
I
back here
functioned
is really bad. So I
autistically,
think you just have to sacrifice
and
the
I didn't know
queen.
that until my early 30s.
Um,
And
and
how
then
I
there's checkmate.
process trauma, I didn't really
All right, GG.
understand until many years later. And I sought help for that.
Let's do one
So they
more
were
game.
trying to say that I had some secret mental health
And then
problem
I
that
gotta
I
go
hadn't
have
been
lunch.
reporting to. So I had to go through this whole
Let's see who will
process
get. I now
to
understand why it's
succeed
taking
trying
long.
to
So I think it's just kind of hard to find
investigate
players
that, which I don't even know if that's like illegal.
from the
They tried to
2000
say
range
that I
upwards.
mishandled classified, all this other stuff. It was insane.
Maybe bad network servers
Apparently,
or
I was under criminal investigation for a couple months,
let's
and
see.
I didn't even know that, and nor did they interview me. But they made a finding with no evidence they tried to use against me that I had to spend money to basically litigate, maintain my employment, my clearance, which I did, for the record, maintain my clearance. I resigned with full accesses. I'm just debriefed now, but I maintained my top secret eligibility
Oh my
and left with
days!
my
I put it
employer.
unrated all
And
this time.
so,
Are you
and of
kidding me,
course, they ruined
bro?
one of my boss's careers in another agency. They
Okay,
walked
so
him
all
out of
that
the
was for
ring
nothing,
and
really.
revoked his clearance and terminated him as a show
All
of
right, let's
force.
have one rated, then I'll have to
Me.
carry on the rate.
And
Guys, I honestly did
he's a
not
very
know it
smart
was
professional
unrated.
individual. And they came
Anyway,
after coworkers of mine. I can't get into who, what, when,
no
where,
wonder
and
it was
why.
taking so
Protect their
long.
identities through
Uh,
their own process. But
I had a
so that happened to me
training.
professionally. And then
I had a few training games with a member of the Indian amateur chess team, Shaurya, who's rated about 2200. So to make things fair, we agreed that we're gonna have an unrated game
what happened
because
personally
obviously my
was
rating is not
very disturbing.
that high on online blitz, so it would take a lot of his
So I
points
feel
off,
very vague about this because
and he didn't have to do that.
ongoing
So
investigation, but I think you'll understand what I'm saying,
unknowingly, when I
is
started this quote unquote speed run, I
they
didn't
showed me
realize
my
that I
limit
hadn't
and didn't
turned
touch me at any time,
the unrated
which was
thing
fine.
off.
And it was
So
very
my
disturbing.
apologies.
It was conjunction with some other people getting a message like that are
Anyway, we can carry on.
well known, some that aren't publicly well known.
Let's go here.
And of course, I immediately reported that to counterintelligence, federal law enforcement local to me, because it wasn't criminal, but it was like a fuck you to me. And this was right before I filed my.
Now I blundered the 4K.
Now I don't know who did this. Entity who did X, Y, and Z to my wife and I. Identity unknown. Something happens, and I provided that documentation to a couple special agents, and I just knew that it was getting serious. And
There, let's take now.
First of all, I'm the kind of person. I'm from Pittsburgh, Steel Town. I'll take shit from people, and I decided, fuck it.
Let's go G6.
General complaint to protect myself.
Now we need to strive to get our king, sorry, on
My wife's an Air Force veteran too, and very strong.
On this side of the board.
As a man, you don't want to put your family at risk. And
let's go here.
Certain other measures which I want to talk about to protect myself, physically. And I could not believe that was happening to me. No kidding. And I knew.
Let's go bishop b7.
Something internally. And then when I saw the writing on the wall earlier this year, and of course I knew about the Schumer Amendment, like I mentioned earlier, I knew, I'm like, no, I got to do this for my own protection, because me leaving the federal service, because I resigned my Air Force commission, I totally threw that career away, to do what I thought was the right patriotic thing, to whistleblow on this, and I, swore my oath 18 years ago, and that sounds hokey, but I believe.
Let's go in.
Integrity,
feel like that's the right move.
For self, and excellence, all we do. That's the Air Force motto. And I'm like, this is not going to help me personally. Like, love talking to you. I like spreading this message because it's the right and ethical thing to do. But this is a nightmare for me. I don't want to be public. I've served the country in clandestine and covert operations for 14 years. I've done technical intelligence for some of the most high-profile takedowns in U.S. history. I shouldn't even be here. But I am, because I want to see change. I saw something unethical and unmoral. I want to make sure I hold that element of the government accountable. And it was the right fucking thing to do. And I get kind of emotional about that.
Yeah, it's taking the best approach, which is
my career's been service and sacrifice, and
basically decrease
and I've talked about this.
Black's chances of castling, because if I castle, then my position is slightly better.
Segueing a little bit, but the suffering of the American intelligence officer is something that, for their service to their country, and I'm talking about this subject, obviously, people don't realize the kind of trauma intel professionals go through. So, first of all, I had a friend 6 months after I got back from Afghanistan. His name is Captain Dave Lyon. There's a park at Peterson Space Force Base named after him.
Now let's castle.
I remember seeing his coffin from all the plane stuff. So, I saw him die. That fucked me up for a number of years, and that's what gave me a lot of my problems I ended up dealing with. But then I remarried, and then my best man, Captain Ben Heine, Air Force Intelligence Officer, Air Force Special Operations Command. I've known him for years. He's my closest friend, best man at my wedding. And then 28 days later, unfortunately, he suffered from depression, and it was, as his best friend, he didn't even confide in me. I remember chit-chatting with him on the phone one day, about 28 days after he was my best man, and he didn't tell me anything was wrong with him. And a few hours later, he walked in his backyard and shot himself. And I gave his eulogy at his funeral. And that really really affected me. And with what Ben experienced, which I can't get into all of the
Okay,
stuff he
let's
did,
go there.
but
He's on a pawn. Okay, no big deal.
Being the guy that decides that person is bad, fire the Herald Father. That person is now pink mist. If they're dead, you just played God. Let's go back to the wife and kids at the end of your shift. And a lot of that, I did the same kind of thing. I did a lot of stuff overseas, involved interrogations and ops that where you had to decide if a target is bad enough where you're going to affect their life forever and their family's life forever. And And that's the silent suffering of intel professionals, especially during the global war on terror, which was 21 years or so. And you know, uh, the trauma and the mental health problems that people get from being an intel professional in an operational environment. People think like special operators, pilots, etc. Army, Marines, ground pounders, and they certainly have their own trauma, but it's this weird, insidious. Am I in a video game? Is this real trauma that intelligence professionals? And I just wanted to highlight that during the show because that was just a near and dear to myself. So people are aware of the service of military intelligence and civilian intelligence professionals that have to make really tough decisions for the country that affect people's lives on the receiving end. So
Was there a concern while you're going through all this that if you didn't come out with this, that we would be stuck in the same sort of loop for a long, long period of time, and no one would ever have access to this stuff? That they would continue.
Yeah, and that you nailed it on the head. I think my generation wants to change. The under 40 generation, their parents went to war, their older brothers went to war. We're fighting two dangerous proxy wars right now, which is extremely um, stupid. I mean, a better way of saying it, to be quite frank. I give you my assessment on that if you want. But
All right, dude. He's
we're
playing
in
some
this
strong
loop.
moves.
We're not progressing in a healthy way.
Okay. I think we
As
can
a
ignore it.
civilization, it's becoming more divisive, whether on the left or the right. People aren't even looking up. All they care about is TikTok. We're creating potentially dangerous artificial intelligence. I even saw that in my government service. And I think humanity's kind of stuck right now, and we need to change. And this subject is like one of the only unifying, ontologically shocking, but I would think generally unifying topics where if announced by the U.S. and other major powers that have knowledge in a controlled manner, that this could change humanity for the better, make us look inside ourselves, become less divisive, and care maybe a little less about superficial things. So, so that's kind of my philosophical motivation to do what I did,
And you're confronted with one of the biggest mysteries in human history.
Yeah.
Which is, are we alone? And it seems like at least some people have the answer to that.
100%. I mean, the people I talked to certainly did, and they had close personal knowledge. And the intel reports I read, literally indicated that as well, like I talked about earlier. And it's like this caste system. I call it dudes with SCI clearances do not have an embargo on reality. So it's a caste system of people in government and outside of government, the industrial complex, that run this stuff under little oversight. And I remember some of the people who denied us access. They were like, I don't know what you're talking about, but if I did, why would you have a need to know? And I'm like, well, why did you have a need to know? You're just some multi-star general.
Or you're a human being.
You're a human being. You're not better than me. I mean, who determines need to know on a humanistic question? It's like basic fact of life. Why are we classifying fact of life at this day and age in 2023? It's insane.
And the answer to that would be national security.
Yeah, it's obtuse national security, right? So like, why we classify stuff? It's called Executive Order 13526, right? Section 1.4 sections E and F are why we classify science stuff, why we classify nuclear stuff. It's like a one-liner. It's very vague. And are you saying these basic facts should be classified? Are you saying that this fits in this bill? And you notice the Schumer amendment, if anybody reads it, awkwardly calls out the Atomic Energy Act in 1954, right? And they're basically treating this as nuclear secrets because it gives off nuclear radiation. Because if you look at the ultra vague definition of special nuclear material, which is Section 51, Atomic Energy Act 1954, it says anything that gives off a sizable amount of atomic energy. Literally, that's what it says. Well, what's sizable and what legal gymnastics are you saying this stuff, which is obviously not a, well, who knows, maybe it is nuclear weapon, and you're saying this is a U.S. nuclear secret, you're transclassifying it into a nuclear secret, which I understand maybe at first why they did that, and I'm not admonishing the hard decisions that presidents and other folks did many years ago when this was more of an enigma and we wanted to like lock it down, figure it out, and then see what we're gonna do. But there's never been a disclosure plan. I always ask that, like these super senior people I talk to, was there a plan? Any kind of plan at all? And they're like, no, never. We tried to muddy the waters back and then, tried to put it out there and test the populace, but um, there was never any cogent plan. I mean, people think the government is like this fine oiled machine. They have plans for everything. Well, I guess sort of, but like it's not. I mean, look at the war on terrorism. We left Afghanistan. No general officer. Mattis, Petraeus, McChrystal. I call them the failed generals. People loud them, but really themselves in the Obama administration, Bush administration, except Trump, whatever. Um, Nobody had a cogent plan for success, and we were fighting people who are much less of an adversary than like one of our peers or near peers. So we couldn't even win that war. Like, what the fuck are we doing? But these protracted, endless wars, let's be real, it's good for the industrial complex. Right. So, and I'm not like admonishing the whole industrial complex for the record. We need national lethality. We need weapons to kill bad guys because there's evil people in the world. But you got to control, some of it.
Well, that's a part of the problem with people that have secrets. It's like once you have secrets, and part of your identity is the holder of those secrets.
Yeah.
And part of the culture of these industries is that they are the ones that have the access to that.
Yeah, and I saw that in conventional, really black programs I was a part of in my career. It was almost like you got that secret society vibe where it's like if you're a career government servant, your salary's not that great, but knowledge is your currency. And what makes you special? What rice bowl do you control? And I remember getting read into some stuff that like it was like the president and very limited number of people getting read into, and I was one of them because I was operating a certain thing.
All right, so king safety is the main factor in
Yeah,
this position.
oh, you're part of the club, like only 30 people are cleared or whatever. And I'm
His
like,
king is slightly more exposed, and we may get to him before he gets to our
it's
king.
so weird, but like these like
I say that,
lifers,
and then he
I
plays
think
a really good move. Let's go.
talks a matter of fact about it, but like it just
Take this
it's kind of
pawn. We're not going to
disgusting
be
to
able
me
to
because
get
it's like this
what
like
we're looking for.
it's weird. It's just like a weird like Gnostic cultish thing.
Yeah,
And,
gotta go here.
I lived that community
Gotta go
40
here.
years of my career.
And people really do enjoy having information that other people don't have access to.
I was like, I got a secret, and like that's why I whistleblow. Okay, so I know this shit's real. I know we're not alone. We have stuff. No shit. Am I gonna sit on my ass for 30, 40 years? I'm an old man. I look back like, I had that secret. I knew about it, but I didn't do anything.
He just
I didn't
blundered
jack
checkmate.
shit. So I couldn't
Yeah, he just blundered checkmate
keep that
for no
secret
reason.
because I thought it was
Anyway,
just perverse and wrong that the people don't even at least get to know the
just
basics.
blundered
It's
checkmate.
insane. So when it
All right,
comes to
GG. He was winning, and then
these actual entities,
yeah,
blundered
you
checkmate at the
know
end. Anything we need to go over?
of how many of them we're talking about, and
Yeah, so he had some strong attacks,
yeah, there's variety, and we have a certain
and he sort of started to lose his bearings
things.
around this point. And that extra pawn gives us a really good. And I think when he rushed with Queen A6, it was bad. He should have stayed on this diagonal. Sorry,
Yeah, I talked to people who were
he
familiar
should have
with
stayed on this diagonal.
the biological analysis and everything. So we have some
And then,
idea,
yeah.
not
Okay.
a complete picture, because it's like
GG.
looking at it, it's like I don't even
Should we
understand
do one more?
physiology.
Now let's take a break. All right. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, no, I was in